My name is Sarah, and I'm 28. I'm sitting in a packed Chicago courtroom, my pen tapping nervously against my notepad. I'm a social worker here for a kid named Marcus, a 15-year-old facing a theft charge. His eyes, defiant but scared, lock onto mine, and something stirs deep inside me. A scar on his wrist catches the light, so familiar it steals my breath. Have I seen him before? My past feels like it's clawing its way back. Has a moment ever hit you like that? Drop a comment with where you're watching from, and please like and subscribe to hear what happened next. I was 18, barely out of high school, working part-time at a foster care agency in Chicago. My name's Sarah, and back then I thought I could save everyone. The agency was a cramped office on the south side with peeling paint and a coffee maker that never worked. I was studying social work at community college, fueled by dreams of making a difference. My first big case was a newborn baby Isaiah. He had a tiny scar on his wrist from a hospital procedure, and his big brown eyes seemed to see right through me. I'd hold him during visits, his little fingers curling around mine, and I'd whisper promises to keep him safe. His mother, Tanya, was 22, with a laugh that could light up a room, but eyes that carried too much weight. She was fighting addiction heroin mostly, and the agency was giving her one last shot to keep Isaiah. I believed in her. I'd sit with her in our meeting room, the one with the flickering fluorescent light, and we'd talk about her plans. She wanted to be a nurse, she said, to help people like her. I'd nod, scribbling notes, my heart swelling with hope. I spent nights researching rehab programs, printing out flyers for free clinics, even calling centers to check wait lists. Tanya would hug me after our meetings, her bony arms trembling, and say, "You're my angel, Sarah." I believed that too, but there were cracks. Tanya missed her first counseling session, saying her bus broke down. I brushed it off, told myself it was just one slip. Then she showed up late to a parenting class, her pupils pinpricks, her words slurring. My stomach sank, but I smiled and handed her a bottle of water, pretending I didn't notice. I kept telling myself she'd pull through, that love for Isaiah would be enough. I'd rock him in my arms during her visits, his soft gurgles filling the silence when Tanya's promises ran dry. I bought him a tiny stuffed bear from a dollar store, its fur soft and brown like his eyes. I tucked it into his blanket, hoping it'd make him feel loved. My supervisor, Clara, was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s with gray streaks in her braids and a voice that could cut through excuses. She called me into her office one day, the air thick with the smell of her lavender candle. "Sarah," she said, leaning forward, "you're getting too close to this case. You can't save them all." I stared at my sneakers, scuffed from running between classes and work. "I'm just doing my job," I mumbled. She sighed, her eyes softening but firm. "Your job is to follow protocol, not play hero. Tanya's slipping, and you need to be ready for what comes next." I nodded, but inside I was screaming. I wasn't ready to give up on them. There was this coworker, Leslie, who'd been at the agency longer than me. She was 25 with a sharp tongue and a habit of chewing gum too loud. During lunch breaks, she'd lean back in the break room, her sneakers propped on a chair, and talk about foster kids like they were doomed. "They always end up lost," she said one day, popping her gum as I sipped my soda. "You're wasting your energy on that baby and his mom. She's gonna crash, and he'll be another file in the system." I gripped my can so tight it dented. "You don't know that," I snapped. Leslie smirked, shrugging. "Keep dreaming, kid." Her words stuck like gum on my shoe, heavy and hard to shake. I started noticing things I'd ignored. Tanya's apartment, where I'd drop off diapers, sometimes was a mess. Old takeout containers littered the counter, and that stuffed bear I'd given Isaiah was on the floor, one eye missing, its fur matted with dirt. Tanya swore she was trying, but her voice was hollow, like she didn't believe it herself. I'd leave those visits with a knot in my chest, replaying Clara's warning in my head. Was I too close? Was I failing Isaiah by believing in Tanya? I'd lie awake at night, my dorm room dark, except for the glow of my laptop, Googling how to help an addict keep their kid. The answers were never clear. Back in the courtroom, Marcus's hearing was wrapping up for the day. The judge set a date for his next appearance, and I watched him shuffle out his shoulders hunched under his too big jacket. That scar on his wrist flashed in my mind so like Isaiah's. I shook my head, telling myself it was crazy. 10 years had passed. Isaiah was long gone, placed with some foster family I'd never met. But as I packed my notepad, my fingers brushed the edge of an old photo in my bag, one I'd kept from those early days. I didn't dare look at it. Not yet. The weeks dragged on, and Tanya's absences piled up like unpaid bills. I'd call her, my phone pressed tight against my ear, pacing the agency's hallway with its chipped linoleum floor. Her voicemail was always full, or she'd pick up voice raspy promising to show up tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. I'd sit at my desk staring at Isaiah's case file, its edges curling from my constant handling. His birth date, that little scar, all memorized. I told myself I was doing enough, but the knot in my chest tightened every day. One morning, I got to the agency early, the Chicago air biting through my thin coat. Clara was already there, her office door ajar, papers stacked high on her desk. She called me in her voice softer than usual, which scared me more than her lectures. "Sarah," she said, folding her hands. Tanya tested positive at her last check-in. "We're moving to terminate her rights." My mouth went dry. I gripped the chair, its metal frame cold against my palms. "She's trying," I said, my voice cracking. Clara shook her head. "She's out of time. Isaiah's going to a foster family." I wanted to argue, to scream that Isaiah needed his mom, that I could fix this. But Clara's eyes held no room for debate. "You're not his mother," she said. "You're his caseworker. Act like it." I left her office, my legs shaky, and ducked into the bathroom. The mirror showed a girl I barely recognized, eyes, red hair messy from running my hands through it. I splashed water on my face, but it didn't wash away the ache. I felt like I'd betrayed Isaiah, like I'd failed to keep my whispered promises. That night, I drove to a park near my dorm, the one with the creaky swings and graffiti-covered benches. I sat in my car, the engine off, and cried. The streetlights blurred through my tears, and I clutched Isaiah's file like it could bring him back. I was supposed to be his advocate, but I was powerless. The next day, I went to Tanya's apartment, hoping to change her mind to get her to fight. The building smelled of mildew, and the stairwell echoed with distant shouts. I knocked my knuckles stinging against the chipped door. No answer. I knocked harder, then tried the handle. It was unlocked. Inside, the air was stale, and a single lamp cast shadows on the walls. Tanya was slumped on a couch, her face gaunt, a needle on the coffee table. My heart sank, but I knelt beside her, shaking her gently. "Tanya." "Wake up," I whispered. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Sarah," she mumbled. "I'm sorry." I wanted to yell, to ask why she chose this over Isaiah, but her hollow gaze stopped me. I called an ambulance, my hands trembling as I dialed. While waiting, I found a photo on her fridge tucked under a magnet shaped like a heart. It was Isaiah, barely a month old, his tiny hand gripping my finger during a visit. I'd forgotten Tanya had taken it. I slipped the photo into my pocket, a piece of him I couldn't let go. The paramedics came, and I watched them take Tanya away, her body limp on the stretcher. I didn't follow. I couldn't. Back at the agency, I hid the photo in my desk drawer, behind a stack of old memos. It felt like stealing, but it was all I had left of him. Clara called me in again a week later. Isaiah had been placed with a foster family, she said, and his case was closed to me. "It's for the best," she added, but her words felt like a slap. I asked where he was, who was raising him, but she shook her head. "You know the rules, Sarah. Let it go." I nodded, but my throat burned. I wanted to know he was safe, that someone was singing to him at night, that he wasn't alone. But the system didn't care about my wants. At home, things weren't much better. My mom, Diane, was in the kitchen when I got back chopping onions for dinner. The smell stung my eyes, or maybe that was just an excuse for the tears. "You look like hell," she said, not looking up. I slumped at the table, picking at a scratch in the wood. "Work's tough," I said. She put down her knife, her face softening but stern. "This job's eating you alive, Sarah. Quit before it breaks you." I shook my head stubborn. "I'm fine," I lied. She sighed, going back to her onions, and the silence between us grew heavier than ever. In the courtroom now, Marcus's lawyer was speaking, her voice cutting through my memories. She mentioned his foster care history, how he'd bounced between homes since infancy. My pen froze mid-note. The scar, the age, the foster system. It was too much to be coincidence. I glanced at Marcus, his jaw tight, as he stared at the floor. Was he Isaiah? The thought felt like a punch, but I pushed it down, my heart racing. I wasn't ready to face that truth, not yet. 5 years ago, I was 23, living in Atlanta, a city that felt too big and too loud for the quiet ache I carried. My name's Sarah, and I just landed a full-time social work job at a nonprofit, hoping a fresh start would bury the ghosts of Chicago. The office was in a strip mall wedged between a nail salon and a vape shop, with windows that rattled when trucks passed. I was still haunted by Isaiah, the baby I couldn't save, but I told myself I was stronger now, ready to make a difference. My first case was Jamal, a 14-year-old with a chipped front tooth and a stare that could cut glass. He reminded me of what Isaiah might have grown into, all sharp edges and guarded hope. His file said he'd been in foster care since he was 6, shuffled through 7 homes. I met him at a group home, a squat brick building with faded curtains and a basketball hoop missing its net. He slouched in a plastic chair, arms crossed, barely looking at me. "You're just another suit," he muttered when I introduced myself. I forced a smile, sitting across from him, my notebook open. "I'm here to help Jamal. Tell me what you want." He snorted, kicking the table leg. "I want out." I threw myself into his case, believing I could break through. I'd visit him twice a week, bringing snacks, cheap granola bars I bought in bulk. We'd sit in the home's common room, the TV blaring some reality show in the background, and I'd ask about his dreams. He wanted to be a mechanic, he said once, fixing cars like his dad used to before he overdosed. I clung to that, jotting it down, thinking I could find him a trade program. But Jamal kept me at arm's length, answering in grunts or sarcasm. I'd leave those visits, drained my car, smelling of the pine air freshener. I hung to mask my stress. My new boss, Harold, was a wiry man in his 40s with a buzz cut and a habit of tapping his pen when he talked. He ran the nonprofit like a business, all numbers and deadlines. One day he called me into his office, a small room with a fake plant gathering dust in the corner. "Sarah," he said, not looking up from his computer. "You're spending too much time on this Jamal kid. He's a runner. Focus on cases you can close." My jaw tightened. "He's not a lost cause," I said, my voice sharper than I meant. Harold leaned back, his pen still tapping. "You're too soft. This job will chew you up if you don't toughen up." I left his office, my nails digging into my palms, feeling like I was fighting a losing battle. Things got worse. Jamal started skipping our meetings, leaving notes with the group home staff saying he was busy. I'd drive by his school, a gray building with bars on the windows, hoping to catch him. Once I saw him in the parking lot laughing with older boys, their hoodies baggy and their eyes scanning the street. My stomach twisted. I called him over, but he waved me off, disappearing into the crowd. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, wondering where I'd gone wrong. Was I pushing too hard? Not hard enough? Isaiah's face flashed in my mind, those big eyes. I'd failed. I couldn't fail Jamal too. At home, my life was unraveling. My sister Rachel was deep in wedding planning, her dining table covered in fabric swatches and guest lists. We'd always been close, but I was pulling away, buried in work. One night, she invited me to her apartment, a cozy place with fairy lights and a cat that shed everywhere. She poured us wine, her engagement ring glinting as she handed me a glass. "You're not yourself, Sarah," she said, her voice gentle but pointed. "You're missing dress fittings, family dinners. What's going on?" I stared into my glass, the red wine swirling like my thoughts. "Work's heavy," I said. She frowned, setting her glass down. "You're letting it consume you. I need my sister, not a ghost." I snapped. "I'm doing something that matters, Rachel. Not everyone gets to plan a fairy tale wedding." Her face fell, and I regretted it instantly, but I grabbed my coat and left the door slamming behind me. Back in the courtroom, Marcus's foster mother was on the stand, her voice tight as she described his outbursts, how he'd sneak out at night, how she couldn't control him. My pen scratched notes, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying Jamal's defiance, Rachel's hurt. Marcus's head was bowed, his hands clenched in his lap. I wondered what broke him, what made him run like Jamal did. The judge's gavel snapped me back, adjourning the session, but the weight in my chest only grew heavier. The air in Atlanta felt thicker after my fight with Rachel, like the city was pressing down on me. I was 23, drowning in my job, my name still Sarah, but feeling less like myself every day. Jamal's case was slipping through my fingers, and the guilt was a constant hum in my chest. I'd wake up at dawn, my apartment a mess of unwashed dishes and case files scattered on the coffee table, and drive to the group home hoping today would be different. It never was. One afternoon, I got a call from the home's director, a woman named Sheila, with a voice like gravel. "Jamal's gone," she said, no preamble. "Left last night. Didn't take his stuff." My heart dropped. I was in the office, surrounded by the hum of printers and the clack of keyboards. I gripped the phone, my knuckles pale. "What do you mean, gone?" I asked, though I knew. She sighed. "He's run off before. Police are looking, but you know how this goes." I hung up my hands, shaking, and stared at my desk, where Jamal's file sat open, his photo clipped to the front. His chipped tooth grinned at me, mocking my failure. I drove to the group home, the radio off, the silence loud with my thoughts. The building looked emptier without Jamal's slouch in the doorway. Sheila met me inside, her arms crossed, her face tired. "You can't keep chasing him, Sarah," she said, leading me to his room. It was bare, just a twin bed, with a thin blanket and a cracked mirror on the wall. On the nightstand, I found a crumpled drawing pencil line, smudged but clear, a stick figure family, a mom, a dad, a kid with a car. My throat tightened. I slipped it into my pocket, not caring if it was against protocol. It was proof he'd dreamed of something better. That night, I couldn't sleep. My apartment was too quiet, the streetlights casting shadows through my blinds. I sat on the couch, the drawing in my hands, and let the tears come. I'd failed Jamal just like I'd failed Isaiah. I kept seeing their faces blurring together, two boys I'd promised to protect, but couldn't. I wanted to scream, to tear the drawing apart, but I just held it, my fingers tracing the shaky lines. Why was I so useless? Why couldn't I save them? The next morning, I got a call from the police. They'd found Jamal, but not how I'd hoped. He'd been picked up for vandalism, caught spray painting a wall under a bridge. I drove to the juvenile detention center, a gray fortress with barbed wire glinting in the sun. The waiting room smelled of bleach, and the chairs were bolted to the floor. When they brought Jamal out, he looked smaller, his hoodie swallowing him, his eyes avoiding mine. I sat across from him, a scratched table between us. "Why'd you run?" I asked, my voice softer than I meant. He shrugged, picking at a scab on his hand. "No one cares where I go," he said, his voice flat but sharp like a blade. I leaned forward, desperate. I care, Jamal. I'm here. He laughed a bitter sound. You're paid to be here. Don't act like it's love. His words hit like a slap. I wanted to argue to tell him I'd stayed up nights worrying that I'd fought for him, but he stood banging on the door for the guard. I don't need you, he yelled as they led him away. I sat there frozen, the room spinning. Was he right? Was I just a cog in a broken machine pretending I made a difference? I drove home, my vision blurry, barely noticing the traffic. Things with Rachel only got worse. Her wedding rehearsal was that weekend, and I showed up late, my hair still damp from a rushed shower. The venue was a garden string lights glowing against the dusk, but I felt like an outsider. Rachel was in a white dress, practicing her walk. Her smile fading when she saw me. After she pulled me aside, her bouquet clutched tight. You're not here, Sarah, she said, her voice trembling. I'm getting married, and you're checked out. I snapped, the pressure boiling over. I'm dealing with real problems, Rachel. Kids who don't have fairy tale endings. Her eyes filled with tears, and she walked away. I left before the dinner, my car the only sound in the quiet lot. In the courtroom, now Marcus's foster mother finished testifying, her voice fading into the judge's questions. I watched Marcus, his hands twisting in his lap, his face a mask of anger and pain. I knew that look. I'd seen it on Jamal, felt it in myself. The lawyer mentioned Marcus's abandonment as a baby, and my breath caught. The pieces were aligning, but I wasn't ready to face them. Not when the weight of my failures was crushing me. I'm Sarah, 28, and the courtroom feels like it's closing in. The wooden benches creak under the weight of too many people, and the air smells of polished oak and sweat. Marcus stands before the judge, his lanky frame tense in a borrowed suit, his theft charge hanging heavy. I'm in the back, my social worker badge clipped to my blazer, my notebook open but untouched. His wrist scar keeps pulling my eyes, a thin white line that's haunted me since I saw it. I'm trying to focus to stay professional, but my heart's pounding, like it knows something I don't. The Judge Evelyn is a woman in her late 40s, her black robe sharp against her smooth skin. She's known for being tough, her voice crisp as she questions Marcus about the stolen phone. Why'd you do it? She asks, leaning forward, her glasses catching the light. Marcus shifts his sneakers, scuffing the floor. Needed money, he mumbles, barely audible. Evelyn's not satisfied. Speak up, she snaps. You're in my court. Own your choices. I wince, seeing Marcus's jaw tighten, his hands balling into fists. He's holding back, but I can feel the storm brewing in him. His lawyer, a young woman named Carla with tight braids and a nervous energy, tries to steer things. She calls Marcus to speak, hoping his story will soften the judge. He steps to the podium, his shoulders hunched, and starts talking. His voice is low, rough, like he's forcing the words out. I've been in foster care my whole life, he says. Nobody wanted me. My mom left me when I was a baby. I don't even know her name. My pen freezes midair. The word baby hits me like a brick, and I'm back to that photo of Isaiah, his tiny hand in mine. I shake it off, but my pulse races. Marcus keeps going, his words spilling faster. I moved through 6 homes by the time I was 10. Nobody tells you why you're not good enough. You just get a new bag, a new bed, and you keep moving. The room is silent, every eye on him. I'm gripping my notebook so hard the edges crumple. His story feels too familiar, like a puzzle piece I'm scared to place. Then he says, I stole because I was hungry. Ain't nobody looking out for me. My throat burns. I want to stand to say I'm here, but I'm stuck, my legs heavy. Evelyn's expression doesn't change, but her fingers tighten around her gavel. That's no excuse, she says, her tone cold. You made a choice, Marcus. You're 15, not a child. His eyes flash and he steps closer to the podium, his voice rising. You don't know me. You don't know what it's like. The bailiff, a burly guy named Samuel, shifts ready to step in, but Evelyn raises a hand, stopping him. Careful, young man, she warns. You're on thin ice. I'm holding my breath, my nails digging into my palms. Marcus is unraveling, and I can't look away. Then I notice it clutched in his hand a small keychain shaped like a bear, its fur worn to threads. My heart stops. It's the same bear I gave Isaiah, the one I tucked into his blanket 10 years ago. It can't be. I blink, telling myself it's a coincidence, but the scar, his age, his story, they're all screaming the truth. My hands shake, and I drop my pen, the clatter loud in the quiet room. Samuel glances at me, his brow furrowed, but I barely notice. My mind's racing, piecing it together. Marcus could be Isaiah. He has to be. Carla tries to calm things, asking Marcus to sit, but he's not done. He turns to Evelyn, his eyes blazing, and says, You sit there judging me, but you don't know nothing about my life. Evelyn bangs her gavel, the sound sharp. Enough, she snaps. One more outburst, and you're in contempt. Marcus doesn't flinch. He's staring at her, his chest heaving, and I see something shift in his face like a memory breaking through. The room feels electric, every breath held, and I'm leaning forward, my heart in my throat, waiting for what comes next. The courtroom is a pressure cooker, every whisper amplified, every glance heavy. I'm Sarah, still frozen in my seat, my breath shallow as Marcus glares at Judge Evelyn. His accusation hangs in the air, unspoken, but burning in his eyes. The silence stretches taut as a wire until he steps forward, his voice raw and trembling. You're my mom, he says, pointing at Evelyn. The room gasps, a collective intake of air that sucks the oxygen out. My heart lurches, my notebook slipping to the floor. Evelyn's face goes rigid, her gavel mid-air, her eyes wide behind her glasses. The crowd murmurs, heads turning, reporters in the back, scribbling furiously. Carla, Marcus's lawyer, stammers, Your Honor, he's upset, he doesn't mean... But Marcus cuts her off, his voice louder now, cracking with years of buried pain. I remember you. You sang to me that lullaby about the moon. Then you left me. My mind spins. Tanya's voice, soft and broken, singing to Isaiah in that dingy apartment, floods back. It's impossible, but it's true. Evelyn is Tanya. I'm reeling, my hands gripping the bench, splinters biting my skin. How Tanya was a wreck, a lost soul I watched crumble. Now she's here, a judge, her past scrubbed clean. My stomach churns with betrayal, not just for Marcus, but for me, for the girl who believed in her. I scan Evelyn's face, searching for the woman I knew. And there it is, a flicker of panic, her left hand twitching just like Tanya's old nervous tick. It's her. My chest tightens, rage and grief colliding. Evelyn slams her gavel, the sound like a gunshot. Order, she shouts, her voice shrill, betraying her calm. This is outrageous. I don't know this boy. The lie cuts me deeper than I expect. Marcus flinches, his face crumpling, but he doesn't back down. You left me in that hospital, he says, tears streaking his cheeks. I was a baby and you walked away. The courtroom is chaos now. Voices overlapping, the bailiff, Samuel moving toward Marcus, but Evelyn waves him back, her composure cracking. I want to stand, to scream, to demand answers, but I'm paralyzed, my body heavy as stone. My mind races through the years, the photo of Isaiah in my desk, the promises I made to him. Was this why I couldn't save him? Because Tanya became Evelyn, hiding her shame behind a robe. I feel sick, my breakfast coffee burning in my throat. Marcus is shaking his hands clenched, and I see Isaiah in him, the boy I lost now, a teenager breaking before my eyes. Evelyn tries to regain control, her voice sharp, but unsteady. "You're mistaken, young man. This is a courtroom, not a stage for your fantasies." Her words are a blade, and Marcus staggers like she slapped him. The crowd murmurs louder, some whispering pity, others disbelief. A woman in the row ahead of me mutters, "Poor kid's lost it." I want to yell at her to tell her he's right, but my voice is gone, swallowed by the weight of the truth. Samuel steps closer to me, his voice low. "You okay, Sarah? You look like you've seen a ghost." I nod, barely, my eyes locked on Evelyn. He hesitates, then adds, "I knew her before she was a judge. She's got secrets." His words are a spark in the dark, confirming what I dread. Evelyn's past is a lie, and Marcus is paying for it. My heart pounds, each beat a question. How could she abandon him? How could she face him now and deny it? Marcus is crying openly, his voice hoarse. "You can't pretend I don't exist," he yells, and the room feels like it's tilting, the walls closing in. Evelyn's eyes dart to the crowd, then back to him, her mask slipping. For a second, I see Tanya, the broken woman who begged me for help, but it's gone, replaced by a judge fighting to save her reputation. I'm drowning in the moment, my past and present colliding, and all I can think is that Marcus deserves better than this lie. But I'm stuck, my body betraying me, as the truth tears us all apart. The courtroom doors swing shut behind me, the echo of Marcus's words still ringing in my ears. I'm Sarah, 28, and my legs feel like they're moving through water as I stumble into the hallway. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting harsh shadows on the tiled floor. My blazer is too tight, my badge digging into my chest, but I can't stop. Marcus's face, raw with tears, and Evelyn's denial cold as stone are burned into me. I need answers, and I need them now. I head for the courthouse archives, a basement room I've only been to once for a training session. The air down here is damp, smelling of old paper and dust. The clerk's desk is empty, just a flickering computer screen and a half-eaten sandwich wrapped in foil. I slip behind it, my heart thudding, knowing I'm crossing a line. The archives are a maze of metal shelves, files stacked floor to ceiling, each one a life reduced to ink and paper. I start searching, my fingers trembling as I scan for Marcus's name. I don't know what I'll find, but I can't sit back and let Evelyn's lie bury him. The computer's slow, the keyboard sticky under my hands. I type Marcus Thompson, his name from the case file, and a record pops up. Born 15 years ago. Chicago, no listed parents. My breath catches as I see foster care placement age 2. I click deeper, pulling up his early records. There it is, Isaiah Carter, his birth name changed after adoption. My hands freeze. It's him. The scar, the bare keychain, the timeline, it all fits. I scroll, desperate for more, and find a note. Birth mother identity redacted, relinquished rights at birth. Redacted? Of course. But I know it's Tanya. It has to be Evelyn. I dig through physical files, my nails catching on manila folders. The shelves loom over me, and every creak of the building makes me jump. I find a thin folder labeled Carter Isaiah buried behind others. Inside, there's a birth certificate, his tiny footprint inked on the corner, and a hospital report mentioning the wrist scar from a neonatal procedure. My eyes sting, but I keep going. Tucked in the back is a faded intake form, and my heart stops. The handwriting is unmistakable. Tanya's loopy scrawl, the same I saw on her rehab applications. It's a surrender form signed Tanya Marie Ellis. No mention of Evelyn, but it's her. I clutch the paper, my hands shaking so hard it crinkles. Footsteps echo behind me, and I spin around the folder pressed to my chest. It's Monica, a clerk I've seen around her glasses, perched on her nose, her arms crossed. "What are you doing?" she asks, her voice sharp but curious. I stammer, my mind racing. I need this for a case." She steps closer, eyeing the folder. "That's restricted. You could lose your job." My throat tightens, but I think of Marcus, his voice breaking as he called Evelyn his mom. "I can't back down. Please," I say, my voice low. "This kid deserves the truth." Don't you ever feel that Monica hesitates? Her eyes softening, but she shakes her head. "Get out before I report you." I slip the form into my bag, my hands steady now, and brush past her. She doesn't stop me, but her stare follows me up the stairs. Back in the hallway, I lean against the wall, the paper burning a hole in my bag. I'm breaking rules, risking everything, but Marcus's pain is louder than my fear. I pull out my phone and text Allison, my journalist friend from college. She's fearless, always chasing stories no one else will touch. "Need your help," I type. "Can you dig into a judge's past? Evelyn Brooks. Urgent." I hit send, my pulse racing. Allison replies instantly. "On it. This better be good." I smile, a flicker of hope cutting through the fog. If anyone can find proof, Evelyn was Tanya, it's her. I head to my car, the parking lot gray under a cloudy sky. The weight of what I've done settles in, but so does a fire I haven't felt in years. I'm not that 18-year-old who let Isaiah slip away. Not anymore. Marcus deserves to know who his mother is, and I'm going to make sure he does, no matter what it costs me. My car's engine hums as I drive through Chicago's evening traffic, the city lights blurring past. I'm Sarah, 28, and the stolen form in my bag feels like a live wire sparking with every bump in the road. Marcus's voice, raw and broken in the courtroom, loops in my head, and Evelyn's denial cuts deeper each time I replay it. I'm done waiting for the truth to fall into my lap. I need to face her to make her admit who she is. I pull up to the courthouse, its stone facade looming in the dusk. Most offices are dark, but Evelyn's chambers are on the 3rd floor, and I know she stays late. My sneakers squeak on the polished floor as I climb the stairs, my bag slung over my shoulder, the form tucked inside. The hallway is quiet, the air heavy with the scent of floor wax. Her door is cracked open, a sliver of light spilling out. I pause, my hand hovering, my heart hammering. This could end my career, but Marcus's face pushes me forward. I knock once sharp and step inside. Evelyn's at her desk, papers spread out, her robe draped over a chair. She looks up startled, her glasses slipping down her nose. "Sarah," she says, her voice tight. "What are you doing here?" I close the door. The click loud in the silence. "We need to talk," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. She leans back, her eyes narrowing. This is inappropriate. Leave. But I don't move. I pull the form from my bag, holding it up like a shield. "Tanya Marie Ellis," I say, reading her old name. "That's you, isn't it?" Her face pales, her hands gripping the desk. For a moment, I see Tanya, the trembling woman I knew, not the polished judge. "Where did you get that?" she whispers, her voice cracking. I step closer, my anger rising but controlled. "From Marcus's file. Isaiah's file. You left him, Evelyn. You were his mother and you walked away." She stands her chair, scraping, and points to the door. "Get out or I'll have you fired." But I'm not that 18-year-old who backed down. "He called you his mom today," I say, my voice low cutting. "And you lied to his face." Evelyn's eyes fill with tears, but she doesn't break. She sinks back into her chair, her hands covering her face. You don't understand, she says, her voice muffled. I was drowning. Addicted, broke alone. I gave him up to save him. I want to believe her, to pity her, but Marcus's pain is louder. You saved yourself, I say. You got clean, changed your name, became a judge. But you left him to rot in foster care. She flinches, and I see it, the guilt she's buried for years. She looks up, her eyes pleading. I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. If this gets out, my career, my life, it's over. Her voice is desperate, but I think of Marcus, his bare keychain, his stolen childhood. He deserves the truth, I say, my voice firm. You don't get to hide from him. Evelyn's hands tremble, and she pulls a locket from her neck, snapping it open. Inside is a faded photo, a baby with big brown eyes. Isaiah. My breath catches my anger, faltering for a second. I never forgot him, she whispers. But I can't be his mother now. I'm torn, my heart a battlefield. Part of me wants to comfort her, to remember the Tanya who hugged me and called me her angel. But the other part, the part that's carried Isaiah's loss for a decade, wants justice for Marcus. He's not a secret you can bury, I say, my voice softening but unyielding. I'm telling him, Evelyn. He needs to know. Her eyes widen, panic flashing. Please, Sarah, she begs. You'll destroy me. I shake my head, tucking the form back in my bag. You did that yourself. I turn to leave my hand on the doorknob when my phone buzzes. It's Allison, her text short, found records. Evelyn Brooks was Tanya Ellis Rehab in 09, changed name in 11. Want me to publish? My thumb hovers over the reply. This could ruin Evelyn, expose her to the world. But it's not about her anymore. It's about Marcus, about giving him the closure I never got with Isaiah. I step into the hallway, the door clicking shut behind me, and type one word. Wait. I stand there, the silence deafening my bag, heavy with the truth. My reflection in a nearby window shows a woman I barely recognize. Eyes fierce, shoulders squared. I'm not running anymore. Not from Evelyn, not from my past. I slip the locket's image into my mind. Isaiah's tiny face fueling me. Marcus will know who his mother is, and I'll be there when he does. I take a breath, my hand steady on my phone, and start walking, each step a promise to see this through. I'm Sarah, 28, and the weight of what I've done sits heavy as I drive across Chicago, the skyline a blur of steel and glass. It's been 2 days since I confronted Evelyn, her locket and her lies still vivid in my mind. My hands grip the wheel, the leather worn under my palms, as I head to a community center on the west side. Marcus is there attending a support group for foster youth, and I've decided to tell him the truth about his mother. My stomach knots, but I keep driving. The center is a low brick building, its walls covered in murals of kids holding hands. Inside, the air smells of lemon cleaner and coffee, and the hum of voices fills the lobby. I find the group room a circle of folding chairs under fluorescent lights. Marcus is there, slouched in a corner, his hoodie pulled low. The facilitator, a woman named Denise with braided hair and a warm smile, nods me in. I sit across from Marcus, my bag at my feet, the surrender form still inside, a silent witness to what's coming. The group wraps up, kids sharing stories of new schools or job applications. Marcus stays quiet, his eyes on the floor. When Denise ends the session, I catch him before he slips out. Can we talk? I ask, my voice soft but firm. He shrugs his sneakers, scuffing the linoleum, but follows me to a quiet corner near a bulletin board covered in flyers. The light flickers above us, casting shadows on his face. I take a breath, my heart pounding. Marcus, I found something about your mom. His eyes snap to mine, wary but curious. I pull out the form, not showing it yet, just holding it like a lifeline. The judge, Evelyn, she's your mother. Her real name was Tanya Ellis. The words land like stones and Marcus freezes his jaw tightening. You're lying, he says, his voice low, almost a growl. I shake my head, my throat tight. I'm not. She gave you up when you were a baby. I have proof. I tap the form, my fingers steady, despite the storm inside me. Marcus steps back, his hands shoving into his pockets. Why should I believe you? He snaps. You're just some social worker. You don't know me. His words sting, but I see the fear behind his anger, the same fear I saw in Jamal years ago. I knew you as a baby, I say, my voice cracking. You were Isaiah then. I was there, Marcus. I tried to help her keep you. His eyes widen, and for a second I think he'll listen, but he turns away, his shoulders rigid. You're full of it, he says, but his voice wavers. I push forward, desperate to reach him. She was an addict, Marcus. She thought giving you up was the only way to save you. He spins back, his face twisted with rage. Save me! She threw me away, and now she's judging me like I'm trash. His voice rises, drawing glances from kids lingering nearby. I step closer, lowering my voice. I'm telling you because you deserve to know. You're not alone in this. But he's already moving, storming toward the exit, his hoodie flapping. I chase after him, my bag bouncing against my hip. Outside, the air is crisp, the streetlights buzzing. Marcus is halfway down the block, his pace furious. Marcus, wait! I call, my breath puffing in the cold. He stops, but doesn't turn, his hands clenched at his sides. I catch up my chest, heaving, and see something fall from his pocket, glinting on the pavement. It's the bear keychain, its worn fur catching the light. I bend to pick it up, my fingers brushing the rough texture, and my heart aches. You kept this, I say, holding it out. He snatches it, his eyes blazing. Don't act like you care, he says, and walks away, leaving me standing there, the keychain's absence a hole in my hand. Back at my car, I slump against the door, the metal cold through my jacket. My phone buzzes, a text from Monica, the clerk, who caught me in the archives. Heard you're stirring trouble, it reads. I get it. I was in foster care too. Keep fighting. I stare at the words, my eyes stinging. Monica's support is unexpected, a crack of light in the dark, but it doesn't ease the weight of Marcus's anger. I've given him the truth, but it's torn him open, and I'm left holding the pieces, wondering if I've done more harm than good. The cold Chicago night clings to me as I drive away from the community center, Marcus's anger still echoing in my head. My name feels heavier now, tied to the truth I've unleashed. I wanted to free him, but his retreating figure clutching that bear keychain tells me I've only added to his wounds. My apartment is too far, so I head to a cafe. I know, a small place with mismatched chairs and the smell of burnt espresso. I need to think, to plan my next move. The cafe is quiet, just a few students typing on laptops and a barista wiping down the counter. I slide into a corner booth, my bag on the seat beside me, and order a black coffee, the kind that stings going down. My phone buzzes as I wait. It's Allison, my journalist friend, with a voice message. Sarah, I've got more on Evelyn, she says, her tone urgent. Court records, old rehab files, even a name change petition. It's all Tanya. I'm drafting a piece, but it'll blow up. You sure you want this out? I stare at the phone, my thumb hovering. Exposing Evelyn could give Marcus justice, but it might destroy her, and I'm not sure what that does to him. Before I can reply, the cafe door jingles, and I look up to see Marcus and Evelyn walk in. My coffee arrives, but I don't touch it, my eyes locked on them. They don't see me taking a table near the window, the streetlights casting soft glows on their faces. Evelyn's in a plain coat, no robe, her posture stiff. Marcus sits across from her, his hoodie unzipped, his hands flat on the table like he's bracing for a fight. I should leave, give them privacy, but my feet won't move. I'm a shadow watching the truth unfold. Evelyn speaks first, her voice low, barely reaching me. I'm sorry, she says, her hands clasped tight. I was sick, Marcus. I thought you'd have a better life without me. He doesn't look at her, his gaze fixed on the table, his fingers tracing a scratch in the wood. You didn't even try, he says, his voice flat hollow. My chest aches, hearing the boy I knew as Isaiah, now a teenager, carrying a decade of abandonment. Evelyn's eyes glisten, but she keeps going. I was 22, an addict. I got clean, but by then you were gone. I couldn't find you. Marcus's hands curl into fists, his knuckles pale. You found a new name, he says, his voice rising just enough to turn heads. You found a fancy job. But you didn't find me. Evelyn flinches, her mouth opening, but no words come. The barista glances over, then looks away, sensing the weight of the moment. I want to go to Marcus to tell him he's enough, but this isn't my fight. Not now. I sip my coffee, the bitterness grounding me, keeping me still. Evelyn reaches out her hand, hovering over his, but he pulls back. I kept this, he says, pulling the bare keychain from his pocket, setting it on the table. It's all I had of you, and you were right there judging me, acting like I was nothing. His voice breaks, and my throat tightens, my own guilt surfacing. I pushed this moment, forced this truth, and now I'm watching it shatter them both. Evelyn's face crumples, her hands covering her mouth. I didn't know it was you, she whispers. Not until you spoke. The cafe feels smaller, the walls pressing in. I'm holding my breath, my coffee cold in my hands. Marcus stands, his chair scraping, and looks at Evelyn, his eyes wet, but hard. You chose your life over mine, he says, each word deliberate. I don't need you now. He walks out the door, slamming, leaving Evelyn staring at the keychain, her shoulders shaking. I'm frozen, my heart pounding the truth I fought for now, a blade cutting them both. My phone buzzes again, Allison's name flashing. I don't answer. The article could ruin Evelyn, but seeing her now broken in that booth, I'm not sure it's justice. Marcus's words echo in me, his pain, a mirror to the kids I couldn't save. I've changed their lives, but not how I hoped. I set my cup down, the ceramic clinking softly, and stare at the empty table where Marcus sat, his absence louder than any words. I'm Sarah, 28, and the Chicago spring feels softer today, the air carrying a hint of blooming lilacs. It's been months since that night at the cafe where Marcus's words cut through Evelyn like glass. I'm in a park near my apartment, a quiet place with winding paths and a pond that reflects the sky. Marcus asked me to meet him here, part of the mentorship program I started for him after the courtroom. My sneakers crunch on the gravel, and I carry a frisbee. It's bright red plastic, a small promise of lightness. The park is alive with kids, laughing dogs chasing balls, and joggers weaving through. I find Marcus by a wooden bench, his lanky frame stretched out, a sketchbook balanced on his knee. He's different now. His eyes less guarded, though they still carry a weight I recognize. I sit beside him, setting the frisbee down, and he glances up, a half smile tugging at his lips. You really brought that thing? He asks, his voice teasing but warm. I shrug, grinning. Figured we could use some fun. We toss the frisbee back and forth, the disc wobbling at first, but finding a rhythm. Marcus laughs when I miss a catch, the sound rare and precious. Between throws, he talks his words, spilling easily. "I want to be a counselor someday," he says, catching the frisbee midair. "Like you helping kids who got no one?" My heart swells, but I keep my voice steady. "You'd be good at it," I say, tossing the disc back. "You know what it's like to need someone?" He catches it, holding it for a moment, his gaze distant. "I used to think nobody cared," he says, his voice quieter. "But you showed up, kept showing up." I swallow hard, the weight of his trust grounding me. I think of the years I spent blaming myself for kids I couldn't save, the nights I questioned my worth. Marcus's words are a mirror showing me I've made a difference, even if it's just for one person. We sit back on the bench, the frisbee resting between us. He flips open his sketchbook, revealing pages of pencil drawings, each one a snapshot of his life. There's a foster home with a sagging porch, a schoolyard with a broken swing, a blurry figure he calls nobody's mom. The lines are raw, honest, and I'm struck by how he's turned pain into something beautiful. "These are incredible," I say, tracing a sketch of a city skyline. He shrugs, but his eyes light up. "It's how I figure stuff out," he says, keeps me from losing it. The moment feels fragile, like a bubble that could pop. My job's on shaky ground, the fallout from Evelyn's scandal still rippling. Reporters have been circling, and my boss Harold has been watching me closely, his patience thin. But sitting here with Marcus's sketches and the sun warming my face, I feel a calm I haven't known in years. I've spent so long running from my failures, but now I'm starting to see them as steps, not stumbles. My phone buzzes in my pocket. A text from Rachel, my sister. "Coffee later, I miss you." My thumb hovers, a flicker of guilt surfacing. I've been distant, consumed by Marcus's case, but Rachel's been trying her texts more frequent, her tone softer. I type back. "Sounds good." 6 at the usual spot. I slip the phone away, my gaze drifting to the pond where a duck glides silently across the water. Marcus is sketching again, his pencil scratching softly, and I let the moment settle, the world slowing around us. The park's breeze carries the scent of fresh grass, and I'm Sarah, 28, still sitting with Marcus as the sun dips low, painting the sky in soft pinks. His sketchbook lies open, a window into his world, and I'm struck by how far he's come. We're quiet now, the frisbee forgotten, the hum of the park fading into a gentle backdrop. I glance at him, his pencil moving with purpose, and feel a shift inside me, like a knot loosening after years of being pulled tight. Marcus flips to a new page, his hand steady as he starts a sketch of the pond, the duck we saw earlier, taking shape in quick, sure lines. "You coming to my art show next week?" he asks, not looking up. His voice is casual, but there's a hope in it that catches me off guard. "Wouldn't miss it," I say, my smile genuine. He nods, a small gesture, but it feels like a bridge built between us, fragile but real. I think about the art show, a community event at the center where Marcus will display his work. He told me he invited Evelyn, a decision that surprised me. I haven't seen her since the cafe, her tear-streaked face etched in my memory. I wonder if she'll face the boy she left behind. My own choices weigh on me, the risks I took digging into her past, the article Allison held back at my request. I don't regret it, but the cost lingers, a quiet ache. Later, I meet Rachel at our usual coffee shop, a cozy spot with exposed brick and the clink of ceramic mugs. She's already there, her hair pulled back, a scarf loose around her neck. We order lattes, the barista's marker squeaking on the cups, and sit by a window overlooking the street. "I'm sorry I've been distant," I say, stirring my coffee, the spoon clinking softly. Rachel's eyes soften, her hand reaching for mine. I just want you back, she says. The real you, not the one carrying the world. I nod, my throat tight, and we talk, really talk, for the first time in months. She tells me about her new job, her husband's cooking disasters, and I laugh, the sound easy, unforced. The conversation turns to Marcus, and I share his progress, his art, his dreams. Rachel listens, her face thoughtful. You've changed him, she says, but he's changed you too. I pause, her words sinking in. She's right. The Sarah who started this journey was angry, weighed down by guilt over Isaiah Jamal, and every kid I couldn't save. Now I'm learning to let go, to see my efforts as enough, even when they don't fix everything. Back at the park, the art show is days away, and I'm helping Marcus set up. The community center's gym is transformed, string lights crisscrossing the ceiling, tables covered in white cloth. Marcus is nervous, adjusting his sketches on easels, his fingers smudged with charcoal. One drawing stops me, a portrait labeled family, showing a boy, a woman, and me, our faces simple but clear. My breath catches, and I look at him, his eyes meeting mine with a quiet pride. You're in it, he says, shrugging like it's no big deal, but it's everything. Evelyn arrives, her coat folded over her arm, her steps hesitant. The room buzzes with people, but her presence shifts the air. Marcus glances at her, his jaw tight, but he doesn't turn away. She approaches his display, her eyes scanning the sketches lingering on the family portrait. I watch from across the room, my heart steady, no longer racing with anger. She's here, and that's a start, a crack in the wall between them. Harold. My boss pulls me aside later, his usual sternness softened. You've done good with this kid, he says, his voice gruff. Made me rethink some things. I nod, surprised, the validation settling like a warm blanket. The gym hums with chatter, and I step outside, the night air cool against my skin. I look up at the stars faint against the city glow and breathe deep. My chest lighter than it's been in years. Marcus's art, Rachel's forgiveness, Harold's words, they're not answers, but they're enough for now. I'm Sarah, 29 now, and the Chicago winter is settling, in the kind that makes your breath cloud and your boots crunch on fresh snow. It's been a year since Marcus's art show, since I saw his sketch of us as family and felt something shift inside me. I'm in my apartment, a small one-bedroom with creaky floors and a window that overlooks a quiet street. The walls are bare except for a single framed photo, not of Isaiah or Marcus, but of me and Rachel laughing at a farmer's market last summer. It's a reminder of what I'm building piece by piece. Tonight, I'm at my desk, a sturdy oak thing I found at a thrift store, its surface scratched but warm under my hands. I'm writing a letter to Marcus, who's away at college now studying art and counseling, chasing the dreams he shared in the park. My pen moves slowly, the ink dark against the paper, as I tell him about my week, about the kids I'm helping at the nonprofit, about the chili I burned trying to cook. It's mundane, but that's the point. I'm learning to live in the small moments, not just the crises. The letter's not for him to read, not really. It's for me, a way to process the journey we've shared. I write about his first day at college, how he called me from his dorm, his voice bright but nervous, asking if I thought he'd fit in. I told him he'd shine, and he has. His professors send me updates, little notes about his talent, his grit. Evelyn's part of his life now, not as a mother, not yet, but as a mentor, meeting him for coffee, listening to his plans. I don't know if they'll ever be close, but they're trying, and that's more than I expected. My life's different too. I'm still a social worker, but I've set boundaries, learned to leave work at the office. I don't carry case files home anymore. Don't let their weight follow me to bed. Instead, I've started painting nothing fancy, just watercolors on cheap paper, splashes of blue and green that calm my mind. The canvases stack up in a corner, some good, some awful, but they're mine. They're proof I'm more than my job, more than the guilt I carried for years. Rachel and I are closer now, closer than we've been since we were kids. We volunteer together at a foster care nonprofit, sorting donations, planning events. Last week, we spent an afternoon folding tiny jackets into boxes, our hands brushing as we worked. She teased me about my crooked folds, and I laughed the sound easy, unforced. She's teaching me to be present, to show up for the people who love me. I'm trying, and it's enough. I pause, setting the pen down, and lean back in my chair. The radiator hums, filling the room with a soft warmth. Outside, snow dusts the street, catching the glow of a street lamp. I think about the kids I've worked with, the ones I helped, and the ones I lost. Their faces don't haunt me anymore, not like they used to. I see them as part of a bigger picture, a tapestry of effort and hope, not just failure. I'm not saving the world, but I'm here showing up, and that's something. The letter lies unfinished, a few lines left blank. I'll finish it tomorrow, maybe add a joke to make Marcus smile. For now, I stand stretching my arms and walk to the window. The snow falls steadily, blanketing the world in quiet. I press my hand to the glass, the cold seeping into my palm, and feel a stillness settle over me. The past is behind me, not gone, but resting, and I'm ready to keep going one step at a time. The morning light filters through my apartment's curtains, soft and gray, as I sit back at my desk, the letter to Marcus still open. I'm Sarah, 29, and the quiet of this moment feels like a gift, a pause after a long storm. My coffee mug steams beside me, its warmth curling into the air, and I pick up my pen ready to finish what I started. I write about the small victories, like the time Marcus texted me a photo of his first college painting, a vibrant swirl of colors that made me laugh with pride. I tell him I'm proud not just of him, but of myself, for sticking with him through the chaos. I think about the road that brought us here, the courtroom where truths unraveled, the cafe where pain spilled over, the park where hope took root. Each step was heavy, carved from loss and choice, but they led me to this desk, this letter, this life I'm building. I've learned to carry my past differently, not as a weight to drag, but as a story to tell, one that shapes me, but doesn't define me. I write this to Marcus, hoping he'll see it in himself too, that his scars are part of his strength, not his shame. Evelyn's name comes up in my mind, unbidden, but not unwelcome. She's still a judge, her career bruised, but intact, after Allison's article stayed unpublished. I don't hate her anymore. I see her as human, flawed like me, someone who ran from her pain and found a way back, however imperfectly. I write this too, telling Marcus that forgiveness isn't about erasing hurt, but about making room for something new. He's teaching me that even now, with every sketch he sends, every call, where he sounds a little more sure of himself. Rachel's laughter echoes in my memory, our volunteer days at the nonprofit, now a steady rhythm in my week. We pack boxes for foster kids, our hands moving in sync, and I find peace in the routine, in knowing I'm part of something bigger. The kids we help, their names new, but their eyes familiar, remind me why I stayed in this work. I'm not their savior, but I'm their ally, and that's enough. I jot this down, my handwriting looser now, the words flowing like a river finding its path. I set the pen down, the letter complete, and fold it carefully, sliding it into an envelope I won't send. It's for me a record of who I am now, someone who's faced her ghosts and chosen to keep going. I stand, my bare feet cool against the floor, and move to the kitchen where my watercolor paints wait on the counter. I dip a brush in blue, the color spreading across a fresh sheet, and lose myself in the motion, the world fading to just this moment. The lesson I've learned is simple but hard-won. Healing isn't about fixing what's broken, but about walking through the cracks step by step. until you find light. It's about choosing to show up for others and for yourself, even when the path is unclear. I've found my way by holding space for Marcus, for Rachel, for the kids who come after, and in doing so, I found space for me. What's a moment that taught you to keep going, even when it hurt? Share it below. I'd love to hear your story. If this journey resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Thank you for listening, for being here. Here's to healing, to finding your light wherever you are.